The clock strikes midnight in the quiet town of Aberdeen, New South Wales. Inside a modest home, a chilling scene unfolds. Blood stains the floor, a knife lies ominously nearby, and the air is thick with a sense of horror. Katherine Knight stands in the kitchen, the remnants of a gruesome act surrounding her. What drove this woman to such unspeakable violence? The answer lies in a complex web of love, betrayal, and madness. But as investigators piece together the horrific details, they uncover a shocking truth that will leave you questioning everything. Katherine Knight was born on October 24, 1955, in the small town of Tenterfield, New South Wales. Growing up in a dysfunctional family, she experienced a tumultuous childhood filled with abuse and instability. By the time she reached adulthood, Katherine had developed a reputation for being fiercely independent and temperamental. As she navigated through various relationships, she eventually found herself with John Price, an abattoir worker from Aberdeen. Price was known for his hard work and dedication, a stark contrast to Katherine's chaotic past. Their relationship began in the early 1990s, and for a time it seemed they had found a semblance of happiness. They lived together but never married, a fact that would later play a significant role in the tragic events that unfolded. Katherine had 2 daughters from a previous relationship, and with John, they created a blended family. However, beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Katherine's intense jealousy and possessiveness began to strain their relationship. As John sought a way out, the darkness within Katherine grew, leading to a volatile climax that would change everything. The day was February 29th, 2000, when John Price made a fateful decision. After years of living with Katherine, he had finally decided to leave her. In a last-ditch effort to salvage their relationship, he packed his belongings and moved out, an act that would seal his fate. However, Katherine was not one to easily let go. In the days that followed, friends and family began to notice a shift in her demeanor. Reports indicate that she was increasingly agitated and paranoid. On the night of March 1st, 2000, after a heated argument, John returned home to retrieve some belongings he had left behind. Unbeknownst to him, this would be the last time he would ever step foot inside that house. The following morning, his colleagues at the abattoir grew concerned when he didn't show up for work. Calls went unanswered, and as time passed, the worry turned to dread. When police finally arrived at John Price's home on March 2nd, they were met with a scene that would haunt them for years. As they entered the house, they were greeted by a sight so horrific that it would forever be etched in their memories. As police delved deeper into the investigation, they discovered that John Price had been brutally murdered. He had sustained 37 stab wounds, and his body had been subjected to horrific mutilation. The evidence painted a picture of a crime driven by passion and rage. Katherine Knight had not only killed John, but had gone to unimaginable lengths to hide her crime. In a shocking twist, investigators found parts of John's body cooked in a pot on the stove, as if Katherine was preparing a meal. Additionally, police located a plate set for dinner, complete with vegetables and other disturbing accompaniments. Katherine had not only committed murder, but had also attempted to serve her victim to his own children. The grotesque nature of the crime shocked the community and raised numerous questions. What could have driven Katherine to such depths of depravity? Friends and family struggled to comprehend how a woman they once knew could transform into a murderer. As the investigation continued, Katherine was arrested and charged with murder. But her actions would leave a lasting impact that extended far beyond the courtroom. The trial of Katherine Knight began on October 24, 2000, and it was unlike any other in Australian history. As the details of the crime were laid bare, the courtroom was filled with disbelief and horror. Katherine's defense team argued that she was mentally unstable at the time of the murder, claiming that years of abuse and trauma had contributed to her breakdown. However, the prosecution painted a different picture, focusing on the calculated nature of her actions. They presented evidence of Katherine's violent past, including previous incidents where she had threatened her partners. Witnesses testified to her unstable behavior, which included a tendency to fly into violent rages. Despite her defense team's efforts, the jury was left with a chilling impression of a woman who was not just a victim of her circumstances, but also a perpetrator of unimaginable violence. On November 8, 2000, the jury returned with a verdict of guilty. Katherine Knight was convicted of murder, and the judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole, making her the first woman in Australia to receive such a sentence. The aftermath of John Price's murder rippled through the small town of Aberdeen and beyond. The gruesome nature of the crime made headlines across Australia, and Katherine Knight became a household name synonymous with horror. As the first woman in Australia sentenced to life without parole, her case sparked intense media scrutiny and public debate about domestic violence and mental health. Many questioned how someone could commit such a heinous act and what warning signs had been missed. In the years that followed, Katherine's story continued to haunt those who knew John Price. His friends and family struggled to come to terms with the loss and the brutal manner of his death. They sought to honor his memory and raise awareness about the dangers of toxic relationships. Meanwhile, Katherine Knight remained behind bars, her case serving as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary lives. As she navigated the prison system, her name remained synonymous with one of Australia's most notorious crimes. As we reflect on the tragic case of Katherine Knight and John Price, numerous questions remain unanswered. What drove Katherine to such a horrific act of violence? Could this have been prevented? The complexities of their relationship serve as a haunting reminder of the potential for darkness that exists beneath the surface of everyday lives. Katherine Knight's case is a cautionary tale about the cycles of violence and the consequences of unchecked rage. It challenges us to consider the signs of abuse and the importance of seeking help. As Katherine remains incarcerated, her story continues to provoke discussions about mental health and domestic violence in Australia and beyond. If this case keeps you up at night like it does me, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Your thoughts and theories are welcome in the comments below. What do you think drove Katherine Knight to commit such a heinous crime? Let's discuss.